All right. So this week, the end of the Parsha, the last plague, the seventh plague, is the plague of hail. Now, what was the purpose of the hail? So the Torah itself describes it, that it broke and shattered everything that was in the field. All produce, tree, and so on. Now we find something about the plague of borod, of hail, we don't find about any of the other plagues. And what is that? The Torah says that there was a fire inside, it came down as big pieces of ice, and inside the ice was eish mistakachas b'seicha borod, this fire. A miracle within a miracle. That the fire didn't consume the ice, and the ice didn't douse the fire. And they're opposites, and here they were, making peace as it were, and came down as one entity. So the question is like this: why was this necessary? Hashem doesn't do a miracle in vain. The whole point was to destroy the produce. It's enough that you have these huge, pieces of ice that come down. And why do you have to make a miracle within a miracle? Now, interestingly, in the Medrash says like this: what happened was that after the ice struck and broke the tree or the produce, the fire then burnt it. And that's the word, that's the meaning, it's interesting, of the word mislakachas. Mislakachas is mace, dead, and lakachas, taken or consumed. The ice killed it, and what burnt it is the fire. But again, the question is, it has to be burned. It's rendered useless, it's being crushed, they have no source of produce, and Hashem's power is displayed. Why you have to have this extra miracle of the what? Of the fire in and the ice. Question number one. Question number two. Pharaoh's response is unique when it comes to this one. The other plagues, he said, okay, I'll let the Jews go. And then he changed his mind. But the plagues, the whole point of it was, okay, enough, stop it, and let them go. For the first time here, in this plague, the Torah tells us, he says these words: God is the tzaddik, and I and my people are wicked. So why only by this plague does he come up with this confession that we are wicked? So I'm going to give you one answer, and then again, another deeper answer. One answer is, a person justifies his behavior by, this is my nature. This is my nature. Can't help myself. I'm born angry. In this case, in the case of Pharaoh, this is the nature of our entire state. We are controlled, we rule, power, slavery is part of our culture. So this plague showed them that if you're connected to the Eibishter, you can behave against your nature. Fire and ice, which are opposites, are cooperating. As we all know, fire is gevura and water is chesed. So, and yet they are harmonious. So true, your nature is disposed towards a particular behavior, but if you want, you can behave in a different way. You can behave in a chesed way. So that's why he acknowledged his wickedness here, because he justified it based on history and culture and personality. And here the plague teaches us that a person, here nature itself, is behaving in a way contrary to its own nature. That's one message. That's why here, this one, he says, we're wicked, because this plague taught him that you can't justify yourself by saying, that's my nature, that's how I was born, that's my parent, that's my personality, etc. Now we're going to go a little bit deeper. Second answer. Everybody knows that in Egypt there's no rain. How is Egypt sustained? The Nile River. So the Nile would overflow. The Nile would, let me just get that, who's going to ring endlessly. Amen. So the Nile would overflow through a series of irrigation canals. And moreover, unique to Egypt is there was not even a need to till the soil because the Nile would bring up all these sediments on top, and there'd be a layer on top of the earth, and it would simply plant and it would grow. So as opposed, the way the land of Yisrael is praised, Yisrael is praised as not like Egypt, but Hashem provides the water from the rain from heaven. The Pasuk Parshas Ekev. The rain of heaven, from the rain of heaven you will drink water. What does this mean spiritually? Namely, that the land of Israel is praised with its rainwater, and Egypt, it's from the Nile. And there's no plowing. Rainwater requires that you have to plow the field. The explanation, friends, is as follows. How does rain work? And why is that a virtue? Because rain works, as we read in the very beginning of the Torah, a mist arose from the earth and forms clouds, and the rain comes down. What's that Baruchnius? Spiritually, what that's saying is that in order to receive Hashem's blessing, you have to ascend. There has to be, in the words of the Zohar, of Chassidus, it's Arusa de Latata, an awakening from below. It's not a freebie. It's not a, you're here for davening. Yes, downstairs, yeah. Good to see you. You can sit and listen. We're learning something. You got 10 minutes. So we're saying that the spiritual significance of rain is that the rain comes as a result of the water, the vapors rising from below. The message is that Hashem wants us to earn his blessing. He wants a relationship to open to him, to turn to him. And that's the ascent of the water from below to above. Furthermore, the plowing of the land is necessary. What's the plowing of the land? We have to break up the soil. The clods of earth have to be broken up finally, and furrows made, and so on. And what is that? That is the breaking of the ego. In the breaking of the ego, that's the fertile ground that a seed can be planted and bring life. So that's why Israel is praised that way, because it comes from heaven. First, on a literal level, you're relying on your sustenance. It's not in your hands. It's literally it comes from heaven. But this itself, that it comes from heaven, you need to participate in that relationship. A relationship means just that. It's both ways. The vapor has to be an awakening from below, and then Hashem responds from above. And you have to plow the earth. Not so what? Egypt. What did Pharaoh say? Pharaoh said, I am the Nile. I made myself. This week's Haftarah. Ani ya'iri v'ani assassini. I'm God. I don't need to rely on anything. I'm independent and intrinsic. And that's expressed in the Nile. That the two things. The water doesn't come from above, it comes from below. And as I mentioned before, there's no need to plow the field. The water brings up all the sediment, and they simply plant it. So it lacks, what lacked Egypt is the absolute arrogance and independence. I am that I am. I don't need nor want or acknowledge even the existence of Hashem. That's the spiritual significance of what? Of rain. Now, what is happening here? We're explaining the plague of hail, which is the seventh and final plague described in this week's Parsha. What's the ice? So the ice represents cold indifference. That's what Pharaoh is. He's cold and indifferent to godliness, to spirituality. I don't need anything. I'm completely independent and self-sufficient. Our question was, why did God make a double miracle and put the fire in the ice? So the answer is as follows. You know where this coldness comes from? Cold indifference to the feelings of another human being. Indifference to anything other than me is because inside me, I'm burnt up and the fire of my own desires. What excites me is only me. If inside what excites me is only me, therefore I'm cold to everything else. And to the degree that the fire is inside, to that degree, the ice on the outside. It's not two things. That question was, are you making a separate miracle? Why make a separate miracle? Put the fire in. Because here it's crushing the indifference that Pharaoh has to Hashem, to godliness, to the Creator. I don't care, I don't know, not interested. Where did this come from? Because inside you're consumed with self. So it's really one message. It's further underscored. The Medrash says, how did it work? There was like a little container inside the ice that was full of fire. That means you look at a person and you don't see externally. You just see he's cold and indifferent, he's busy in his own world. The truth is, the reason for that is because inside completely consumed himself. So this answers our question. It's not an extra miracle. This is precisely the message to Mitzrayim. What's being struck? Their produce. Their produce grows from the Nile. The Nile is all about the sense of independence. I don't need God and don't acknowledge God. This is crushed by saying, your coldness is because you're wrapped up in self and your produce now lies in shadows. And that's why Pharaoh says, and I am wicked. This is the first time he's not just saying, let them go, enough already. It's the first time he's acknowledging God. The first time he's acknowledging in his own sinfulness, at least now for this moment, the first time in the plague of the hail, because it's so dramatically brought home to him and exposed the whole core evil of Egypt. The root of it is consumed with self and icy indifference to anyone and everything else, God and all others that don't fit into my agenda. Okay, my friends, so this is a message from the plague of hail. In addition to the first one that we said, that if a person is connected to Hashem, then it can be chesed, it can be gevurah. This is our other message. And the excuse that this is the way I am doesn't hold. We can behave contrary to our nature, and therein lies the true service of Hashem. The true service of God is really when we go against our nature. And this is why I think we learn, when it comes to Avram, the final test, Hashem says to himself, as it were, Avram, please pass this, because if you don't, they're going to say, the world will say that all the 9 tests were all nothing. The question is why they're all nothing. 9 out of 10 is still 9 out of 10. But the answer is that the world will say that all the other tests you did because that was your nature. Your idealism. It was in his final test, as we explained, that he goes contrary to his nature, to slaughter his son, and contrary to even his ideology. Here is when it shows that everything else that he did was not because he's a spiritual person by nature, and he's intellectual, and he's a theologian, but rather because it's truly part of a relationship with Hashem. And so the message, a very powerful message, this final one that I'm saying is, that where is the test in the service of God is not when we do the things that we enjoy, which we should, and come easier to us. Some people enjoy davening, some people enjoy tzedakah, some people enjoy learning. Not that we shouldn't, but it's really the test is when we do that which we don't enjoy, that's when we're really connecting. That's the water or the ice and the fire. In addition to the lesson that we just pointed out before that as well. Okay, my dear friends, have a wonderful Shabbos.